A millionaire agreed to an arranged marriage to save his company, but he was shocked to discover the bride's hidden secret. Before we dive into the story, let us know in the comments which city you're watching from. Enjoy the story. William Carter, heir to a crumbling business empire, was facing the most challenging time of his life. At 34 years old, he had everything anyone could dream of: wealth, status, and influence. Yet all of it was on the verge of collapse. The financial crisis consuming Carter Enterprises wasn't just a numbers problem. It was deeply personal. A pivotal conversation with his father, Ramiro Carter, set the stage for the life-altering dilemma. "You have to accept it, William. It's the only way to save the company." The words were harsh, cold, and filled with desperation. Ramiro, a man accustomed to solving problems through deals, proposed a solution: an arranged marriage with Aisha Al-Fayez, the daughter of a Middle Eastern oil magnate. William rejected the idea immediately. "Marriage isn't a transaction, Dad. I'm not a pawn in your game." His indignation was palpable, but the weight of the company's debts and the risk of losing thousands of jobs gnawed at his conscience. Ramiro's persistence triggered a moral conflict that began to consume William. He was a man of modern values, but he also felt the heavy responsibility of preserving his family's legacy. The proposal wasn't just a financial agreement. It was a leap into an unfamiliar, enigmatic world. Aisha, the chosen bride, was nearly a stranger to him. A graceful and reserved young woman, she was known for her discretion. But who was she really? Why would she agree to be part of such an alliance? The situation grew even more complex when William uncovered troubling irregularities in the company's financial records. Documents revealed that their finances were in worse shape than he had imagined, and potential fraud threatened to disgrace the family publicly. The stakes grew higher, and William felt the mounting pressure to make a decision that would alter the course of his life. Under immense pressure, William finally gave in. The decision came with a heavy heart. Deep down, he felt he was betraying himself. But the weight of his family's legacy and the looming bankruptcy were overwhelming forces. "I'm doing this for the company, for our history, not for myself," he told Ramiro before signing the agreement that would unite two families from vastly different worlds. The engagement was formalized in a lavish ceremony steeped in unfamiliar customs and traditions. The venue sparkled with crystal chandeliers and decor inspired by the Middle East. Aisha, the future bride, was impeccably dressed in traditional attire, her face partially veiled, which only heightened the aura of mystery surrounding her. When William's eyes met Aisha's for the first time, he was taken aback. Her expression was a blend of calm and sadness. It wasn't the look of a woman in love or even hopeful. It was the gaze of someone resigned to a fate dictated by others. "She's just as trapped as I am," William thought. That fleeting glimpse of shared vulnerability stirred an unexpected feeling of empathy in him. In the days following the ceremony, their interactions remained formal and distant. Aisha was polite but evasive. William, on the other hand, sought to understand the person behind her reserved demeanor. Their few conversations were punctuated by cautious glances and carefully measured responses. She seemed burdened by an invisible weight, hiding a secret he couldn't unravel. Meanwhile, the problems at Carter Enterprises worsened. William buried himself in the financial records, searching desperately for an alternative way to avoid the marriage. But the deeper he dug, the more glaring the discrepancies became. Who was behind the manipulations? His father, Ramiro, seemed to know more than he let on but avoided addressing the matter. Amidst the chaos, William received news that turned everything upside down. Aisha had a hidden reason for agreeing to the marriage. Rumors swirled that she was trying to protect someone, possibly a family member, from an unspecified threat. This revelation only deepened the tension between them, adding another layer of mystery and doubt. Determined to uncover the truth, William decided he needed to know the woman he was about to share his life with. He invited Aisha to a private dinner at his mansion, away from prying eyes. "If we're going through with this, we need to be honest with each other," he said. But what Aisha revealed that night was just the beginning of a much larger truth, one that William was far from ready to face. Under relentless pressure, William finally gave in. The decision was made during sleepless nights and a whirlwind of conflicting emotions. He was a man known for his integrity, someone who never gave in to power plays or deals that compromised his principles. But this time, the situation was different. The business empire his family had built over generations was on the brink of collapse. I'm doing this for the company, for our legacy, not for myself, he told Ramiro before signing the agreement that would seal his fate. The deal looked simple on paper, but was complex in its implications. William was to marry Aisha Al-Fayez, the daughter of a Middle Eastern oil magnate. The marriage would unite the two families and bring a massive financial investment into Carter Enterprises. The idea of turning something as personal as marriage into a business transaction made William feel sick. This isn't a marriage, it's a contract, he muttered to himself as he read through the agreement's clauses. Still, he knew there was no other way out. The engagement was formalized in a lavish ceremony that looked like something out of a fairy tale, at least to the outside observers. The hall sparkled with crystal chandeliers, and the guests wore outfits that blended the best of Western and Eastern styles. Golden silk drapes divided the space, and live music filled the air with a melody that was both elegant and somber. When Aisha entered the room, all eyes turned to her. Dressed in a traditional outfit with intricate embroidery, she radiated a serene, enigmatic beauty. Her face was partially covered by a veil, which only heightened the air of mystery around her. William, who had never met her in person until that moment, was struck by the intensity of her gaze. Her eyes held a mix of calm and sadness that he couldn't quite understand. She's just as trapped as I am, William thought, feeling a spark of empathy for this woman who was being forced to share his fate. The ceremony, full of formalities, passed in a blur for William. He barely heard the speeches or paid attention to the presentations. His mind was swirling with doubts. Who was Aisha really? Why had she agreed to this arranged marriage? Was she, like him, giving in to family pressures? These questions echoed in his mind as applause surrounded him, officially marking the engagement. In the days that followed, William tried to focus on work, but Aisha's presence lingered in his thoughts. She seemed like a silent shadow in his life, present at family gatherings and corporate events, but always emotionally distant. He tried starting conversations, but she responded with short, carefully measured phrases, as if she were afraid of revealing too much. This invisible wall between them only deepened the discomfort and mystery. Meanwhile, problems at Carter Enterprises worsened. As William delved into the company's financial records, he uncovered alarming discrepancies. Documents showed the situation was far worse than Ramiro had let on. Even more troubling, there were signs of manipulation in the financial reports, something that could blow up into a public scandal if exposed. William confronted his father about the irregularities, but Ramiro dodged his questions, insisting the marriage would fix everything. "Trust me, son. Everything will be fine," he said, but William wasn't convinced. Amid the corporate chaos, intriguing rumors about Aisha began to surface. A close friend of William's mentioned, in a confidential tone, that she might be involved in something far bigger than an arranged marriage. "I've heard she agreed to this to protect someone. Maybe a family member," the friend said, planting a seed of curiosity in William's mind. The idea that Aisha was silently fighting her own battles made him see her in a new light. Determined to understand her better, William invited Aisha to dinner at his mansion. It was the first time the two of them had the chance to talk without their families or business associates present. "If we're going to do this, we need to be honest with each other," he said, trying to break through the formality that surrounded them. Aisha looked at him for a moment, as if deciding whether she could trust him. "You're right. There are things you need to know," she replied, her voice soft but firm. What she revealed that night was only the tip of the iceberg. Aisha shared that her family was facing a delicate situation, something that had forced her to agree to the arrangement. "I didn't choose this, William, but there are people who depend on me, and I can't leave them helpless." Her words were filled with emotion, and for the first time, William realized how similar their situations were. Both of them were trapped in a system of family expectations and sacrifices. Even so, Aisha kept parts of her story hidden, leaving William with more questions than answers. Why is she hiding something? What else is there to this story? He wondered as he reflected on their dinner. Their relationship remained shrouded in mystery, but one thing was clear. This marriage was much more than just a transaction. The days following William and Aisha's dinner were a whirlwind of emotions. William, used to finding clear answers to the challenges he faced, was now immersed in a mystery that seemed to grow with every interaction he had with his fiancée. What was Aisha hiding? Why did she seem to carry such a heavy burden despite her outward calm? These questions stayed with him constantly. But time was not on William's side. Pressure on Carter Enterprises was mounting daily. Creditors were knocking on the door, employees were restless, and the media had started speculating about the company's financial health. Meanwhile, Ramiro seemed to retreat into his own world, avoiding in-depth conversations with William and resorting to vague reassurances like, "Trust the process," or "We're close to fixing everything." But William knew this so-called confidence was just a front. Amid the chaos, William decided to take matters into his own hands. He hired an external auditor to review the company's financial records. The results were shocking. Not only were the numbers worse than he'd imagined, but there was also evidence that someone inside the company was manipulating the finances to cover up massive losses. This revelation confirmed his suspicions that something was seriously wrong behind the scenes. Meanwhile, his relationship with Aisha was evolving in unexpected ways. Though still distant, they began to share small moments of vulnerability. During a corporate event celebrating the union of their two families, William found her alone, gazing out of a window in an opulent hall, seemingly unaffected by the glamour surrounding her. "Sometimes all of this feels like a prison, doesn't it?" William asked as he approached her. Aisha turned slowly, her eyes reflecting a mixture of surprise and understanding. "More than you could imagine," she replied. It was the first time she acknowledged so directly the feelings they both shared. Her words were few, but they carried an emotional weight that brought them closer. That night, William began to see Aisha not just as a passive participant in this marriage, but as a woman with stories, fears, and deep secrets, just like him. Yet the mystery lingered. What exactly was she trying to protect? The answer began to reveal itself unexpectedly. One rainy morning, Aisha received a letter at her mansion. The plain envelope, with no return address, caught William's attention as he watched her hesitate before opening it. When he noticed her expression change as she read the letter, he approached, but Aisha quickly tucked it away, avoiding any explanation. "Is something wrong?" William asked, trying to sound casual, though his concern was clear. "Nothing you need to worry about," Aisha replied, forcing a smile that didn't reach her eyes. But the unease on her face was unmistakable. Later that day, William decided to seek answers on his own. He knew pressuring Aisha to talk would only backfire, but he couldn't ignore the signs that something serious was happening. That's when he enlisted the help of his trusted friend Victor, a private investigator. "I need to know more about her family. There's something she's not telling me, and I can't help her unless I understand what's at stake," he explained. As Victor began his investigation, William turned his focus back to the company and decided it was time to confront Ramiro about the financial situation. The conversation was tense. "You knew about this all along, didn't you?" William asked, holding up the auditor's reports. At first, Ramiro tried to downplay the issue, but William's persistence forced him to admit the truth. "Yes, I knew, and I did what I had to do to protect our company. Do you think I enjoy putting you in this position? But sometimes, survival requires tough decisions," Ramiro said, his tone wavering between guilt and justification. The revelation shook William, but also motivated him to dig deeper. He knew he couldn't trust anyone blindly, not even his own father. A few days later, Victor returned with information that made William even more intrigued. Aisha's family was facing an internal crisis. Her father, Kamal Al-Fayez, was caught in a fierce dispute with distant relatives who were questioning his leadership and management of the family business. On top of that, there were rumors that Aisha was being used as a bargaining chip to strengthen political and business alliances. This explained why she had agreed to the marriage, but it also raised new questions. What was her true role in this conflict? When Victor shared these discoveries with William, he also handed over something that changed everything: a copy of a letter Aisha had received. The words were short but carried a heavy meaning. "If you fail, everyone will pay the price." Who had sent the letter, and what did it mean? The tension reached its peak when William confronted Aisha again. This time, he was direct. "I know you're dealing with something big, and I want to help, but you need to trust me." Aisha hesitated, clearly torn between keeping her secrets and accepting support. Finally, she replied, "There are things you wouldn't understand, William. Things that go beyond the two of us." That cryptic response only strengthened William's determination. He knew this was about more than an arranged marriage or a business deal. The mystery surrounding Aisha, combined with the dark secrets of Carter Enterprises, created a situation where every move felt like a game of chess, and he was just beginning to learn the rules. William was determined to uncover what Aisha was hiding, but with every new revelation, the mysteries only grew deeper. He began to realize that both his life and Aisha's were entangled in a much larger game, a game of power, secrets, and sacrifices. As William dove deeper into investigating the state of Carter Enterprises, a new problem emerged: the risk of a public scandal. The auditor he had hired uncovered that the manipulated financial records were used to hide suspicious transactions with international partners. Exposing this could lead not only to the company's bankruptcy, but also to a collapse of its reputation and even potential criminal charges. In the midst of this chaos, Victor, the private investigator William had hired to dig into Aisha's situation, paid him an unexpected visit. Victor brought shocking news. The letter Aisha had received was sent by a distant cousin of her family, a man named Hakim, who had a history of rivalry with Aisha's father, Kamal Al-Fayez. Hakim was trying to use Aisha as a pawn in a web of family intrigues, threatening to destroy her reputation and her family's unless she met his demands. "This is much deeper than a simple arranged marriage, William," Victor said as he slid the envelope with the letter copy across the table. "She's being used as a shield, and the marriage to you is part of a plan to protect Kamal's position in both the market and international politics." William felt the weight of the situation. He knew he needed to confront Aisha directly, but something held him back. It was a mix of anger, compassion, and an inexplicable connection to her that stopped him from being forceful. He needed answers, but he wanted Aisha to trust him enough to share them willingly. That evening, William found Aisha in the mansion's garden, a quiet, secluded spot where he hoped they could speak openly. She was sitting on a stone bench, her veil partially pulled back, revealing the tired expression on her face. He approached slowly, sitting beside her without saying anything for a few moments. Finally, he broke the silence. "I know you're protecting your family. I know they put you in this situation just like my father did with me. But I need to understand what's going on so we can find a way out, together." At first, Aisha avoided his gaze, but after a moment of reflection, she spoke. "Do you think I'm here because I want to be? I never had a choice, William. My father made this deal with yours because it was the only way to keep my family from being destroyed. Hakim, he wants to take everything. If I don't do my part, he'll ruin my father's reputation and take control of all our businesses." She paused, taking a deep breath before continuing. "But there's something you need to know, something I never wanted to involve you in. There's another reason I agreed to this marriage." She stopped, as if the words were too difficult to say. William felt his heart racing. "You can trust me, Aisha. Whatever it is, we can figure it out together." She finally met his eyes, tears beginning to well up. "I didn't agree to this marriage just because of my family. I did it because I'm protecting someone I love, my younger brother. He's under Hakim's control, and if I fail, he'll use my brother against me." The revelation hit William like a punch to the gut. This wasn't just an arranged marriage or a power play between two families. It was something much deeper, something personal. He saw the pain in Aisha's eyes and realized for the first time that he truly understood her. "So that's how he controls you?" William asked, trying to process the situation. "He threatens your brother's safety to keep you under his control?" Aisha nodded, her voice shaky but firm. "If I fail, he'll take everything from us. My brother, my family, everything we have left. I couldn't take that risk." With this new information, William realized he was in an even more precarious position. He couldn't simply break the agreement or expose the company's secrets without putting Aisha in danger. For the first time, he felt they were truly united in this fight, not just as pieces on a chessboard manipulated by their parents. But he also knew something had to be done. He couldn't let Aisha continue carrying this burden alone. "I'll help you," he said, taking her hand. "No matter what happens, we'll get through this. Together." Their moment was interrupted by hurried footsteps. It was Victor, bringing urgent news. "William, you need to see this. I found something that could change everything." Victor handed William a dossier containing documents that exposed a secret connection between Hakim and Ramiro. There were signs that William's father wasn't just a passive participant in the arrangement, but was also benefiting from Hakim's threats to secure the Al-Fayez family's investment. This discovery changed the game entirely. Now, William faced an impossible decision. Confront his father and risk exposing the truth, or continue playing along until he could find a way to outmaneuver Hakim and free Aisha from his control. The pieces of the puzzle were starting to come together, but the full truth was still out of reach. William closed the dossier with trembling hands. The revelation that his own father, Ramiro, was involved in Hakim's manipulations left him in shock. The man he had admired for most of his life wasn't just a manipulator. He was complicit in a scheme that endangered lives, including Aisha's and her family's. More than ever, William knew he had to act carefully. Revealing what he'd learned too soon could cause everything to collapse. That same night, he shared the contents of the dossier with Aisha. They sat in the mansion's office, surrounded by piles of documents spread across the desk, trying to piece everything together. Aisha, though visibly shaken, showed surprising focus and determination. "This explains so much," she murmured, holding a paper showing suspicious financial transfers between Ramiro and Hakim. "I always suspected there was more to this story than my father let on, but I never imagined your father was directly involved." William realized they were treading dangerous ground. He couldn't confront Ramiro without a solid plan. At the same time, he had to ensure the safety of Aisha's brother, who remained a key piece in Hakim's control. "The first thing we need to do is make sure your brother is safe," William said. "Without him as leverage, Hakim loses much of his power over you." Aisha agreed, but the thought of exposing her brother to more risk left her uneasy. "Hakim is unpredictable. Any wrong move could put my family in danger. We have to be extremely careful." It was then that William decided to form an unexpected alliance. He reached out to someone who knew Hakim's operations well and could help uncover his plans. That person was Camille, a former business associate of Hakim who had severed ties with him years ago due to his corrupt practices. Camille, a shrewd and highly resourceful woman, was known for her discretion and ability to handle high-stakes situations. When she met with William and Aisha, she immediately spotted weaknesses in Hakim's system. "Hakim is brilliant, but he has one weakness: overconfidence. He underestimates those he thinks he controls," Camille said. "If we play our cards right, we can bring him down before he even realizes it." The plan began to take shape. First, Camille would help track the illegal funds Hakim was using to pressure the families involved in his schemes. The idea was to expose his practices to international authorities, ensuring he lost not only his financial power, but also his credibility. Meanwhile, William and Aisha would work to protect her brother by creating a safe escape route in case Hakim tried to retaliate. At the same time, William started preparing for an inevitable confrontation with Ramiro. He knew his father wouldn't easily admit his involvement in the schemes, so he decided to gather additional evidence. With Camille and Victor's help, he gained access to private communications between Ramiro and Hakim, which revealed that the two had directly negotiated the terms of the arranged marriage. Even more shocking, the evidence showed that Ramiro had allowed Hakim to use Aisha as a bargaining chip from the very beginning. This revelation devastated William. He spent sleepless nights trying to comprehend how someone who was supposed to protect the family could betray their values so blatantly. "My father sacrificed everything, even his dignity, for money," he told Aisha, his voice bitter. "But he won't get away with this." As the plan moved forward, the tension continued to build. Aisha began opening up to William, sharing details about her childhood and her complicated relationship with her father. She revealed that while Kamal was protective, he was also extremely strict, creating an environment where she felt burdened by family responsibilities from a young age. "I never had a choice," she said. "Everything was always decided for me. This marriage is just one more example of that." These conversations created a deeper bond between William and Aisha. They started to see each other not just as victims of an oppressive system, but as allies who could fight together to take back control of their lives. William, who initially saw the marriage as a prison, began to view Aisha as someone he could share his dreams and struggles with. Let's do something fun for those who read all the way through. Write Pepsi Cola in the comments, and only those who get here will understand. Now back to the story. The moment of confrontation finally arrived. William arranged a meeting with Ramiro under the pretense of discussing financial strategies for the company. Instead, he laid out all the documents he had gathered, including evidence of Ramiro's connection to Hakim. "You knew he was using Aisha as a bargaining chip," William began, his voice firm but controlled. "You knew he was manipulating the entire situation, and yet you chose to ally with him. Why? What could possibly be worth putting both our family and hers in danger?" Caught off guard, Ramiro tried to justify his actions. "I did what I had to do to protect the company, William. Sometimes hard sacrifices are necessary." "That's not protection. It's betrayal," William shot back angrily. "And now I'm going to undo all the damage you've caused. I won't let you, Hakim, or anyone else control our lives." Ramiro stayed silent, but the look on his face made it clear that he knew the game was changing. William was no longer the obedient heir, but a determined opponent. The final plan to take Hakim down was in motion. Camille had gathered enough evidence to launch an international investigation, while William and Aisha prepared for her brother's rescue. The tension was at its peak, but they knew there was no turning back. To secure everyone's freedom, they had to play their cards with precision and courage. The operation to rescue Aisha's brother, Karim, and destabilize Hakim was in full swing. Every step had to be carefully calculated, as any mistake could put not only Karim but also Aisha and her family in grave danger. William, now fully committed to protecting Aisha and standing up to Hakim, worked closely with Camille and Victor to execute a plan that defied all odds. The first step was to find Karim's location. Hakim, known for his skill in manipulating people and concealing information, kept the young man under constant surveillance. Thanks to Camille's contacts in Dubai, they discovered that Karim was being held at an isolated property on the outskirts of the city, a luxurious villa surrounded by armed guards. The investigation also revealed that Hakim used this property for confidential meetings with allies, making it a location of high strategic importance. "It won't be easy to get in without drawing attention," Victor explained, studying the property map. "But if we create a distraction, we can use it to our advantage." William knew they needed more than just a solid plan. They needed courage and, above all, trust in one another. "Aisha, you don't have to be directly involved in this," he said, concerned for her safety. But Aisha was resolute. "Karim is my brother, William. I can't stand by and do nothing." The plan began with a carefully crafted distraction. Camille contacted one of Hakim's old rivals, pretending to be an informant willing to trade valuable information. This led Hakim to schedule an urgent meeting at his property, diverting his attention and that of his security team. Meanwhile, Victor and William infiltrated the villa with the help of a bribed employee who provided access to a less guarded entry point. The tensest moment came when William and Victor entered the house. Karim was being kept in a locked room on the upper floor, guarded by two men. The pair managed to neutralize the guards quietly, but time was critical. Hakim's meeting downstairs meant that any noise could expose the operation. When they finally opened the door, they found Karim sitting in a chair, visibly frightened but relieved to see his sister's allies. "Aisha sent me to get you," William said, trying to sound calm. Karim, though hesitant at first, trusted them and followed them out of the property. Meanwhile, Aisha waited in a safe location with Camille, monitoring the operation remotely. Her heart raced with every update, but she knew she couldn't show weakness. When she finally received the news that Karim was safe, tears of relief streamed down her face. "Thank you," she whispered to herself, feeling genuine hope for the first time in a long while. The second part of the plan focused on bringing Hakim down. With the evidence Camille had gathered, William filed a formal complaint with international authorities, exposing Hakim's illegal activities, including money laundering and extortion. The investigation quickly gained momentum, supported by Camille's influential allies and the detailed documentation William provided. Realizing he was losing control, Hakim attempted to fight back. He sent threatening messages to Aisha and William, but it was too late. Authorities raided his property, seizing documents, assets, and equipment that confirmed the charges against him. The once untouchable oil magnate now faced an uncertain future, surrounded by scandal. The final confrontation between William and Hakim came unexpectedly. Before being taken into custody, Hakim managed to contact William, requesting a face-to-face meeting. "You think you've won, but this isn't over," Hakim said menacingly. William remained calm. "You underestimated the people around you. Your greed was your downfall, Hakim, Now you'll pay for everything you've done." Those words marked the end of Hakim's reign. As he was taken away, William felt a mixture of relief and satisfaction. The battle had been won, but the emotional toll of everything that had happened weighed heavily on him. With Karim now safe, Aisha finally felt like she could breathe again. She thanked William for his courage and determination, but he quickly corrected her. "You did this for him. I just helped make it happen." Their relationship had profoundly transformed. What began as an arranged marriage, which initially felt like a prison, had become something far more meaningful. They were no longer strangers forced into a shared life. They were partners who had faced the impossible together. While all this was happening, William hadn't forgotten about Ramiro. He knew there were still unresolved issues with his father. Exposing Hakim meant that Ramiro's involvement in the schemes would eventually come to light as well. But for now, William decided to wait. He wanted to address one final matter before confronting his father again: his relationship with Aisha. With Hakim out of the picture and Karim finally safe, William and Aisha found a brief moment of peace. However, the emotional toll and the consequences of their decisions still loomed over them. There was no turning back. All they could do now was rebuild their lives, which had been scarred by so much intrigue, sacrifice, and betrayal. Aisha's first priority was ensuring that Karim could restart his life in safety. He had been relocated to a discreet location in London, where trusted friends of the Al-Fayez family would care for him. Although the separation was painful, Aisha knew it was necessary. "I just want him to have the chance to be free, to live without the weight of expectations that were placed on me," she confided to William. He, in turn, promised to do everything he could to help her keep Karim safe and far from the corrupt systems that had controlled their lives. Meanwhile, William returned to Carter Enterprises with a renewed sense of purpose. After weeks of investigations and confrontations, he finally had undeniable proof that Ramiro had allied with Hakim to save the company. Though his father's betrayal still hurt, William knew he had to approach the situation strategically. He called an emergency board meeting, presenting the financial irregularities and exposing the extent of Ramiro's involvement in the illegal schemes. "I'm not here to destroy my father," William said during the meeting, "but his actions have put all of us at risk. We can't keep going down the same path that brought us here. From now on, we will do things differently, with transparency and accountability." The board, torn between loyalty to Ramiro and the need to protect the company, voted to remove Ramiro as CEO and appointed William as his successor. Though it was a tough decision, William knew it was the only way to save the company and restore its reputation. Ramiro, initially furious, eventually admitted that his mistakes had led the family to this point. "You did what needed to be done," he told William, in a rare moment of humility. "I hope you'll be a better leader than I was." As William took on the challenges of leading Carter Enterprises, he and Aisha began to explore what their relationship meant now that the circumstances that had brought them together had changed. The arranged marriage, which had initially felt like a trap for both of them, had evolved into something far more complex. They were no longer just pawns in a power game. They were partners who had shared a unique journey of pain, sacrifice, and redemption. One evening, as they walked through the gardens of the Carter mansion, William finally addressed the question that had been on his mind for weeks. "Aisha, I know we started this for reasons beyond our control, but everything has changed. I don't want you to feel trapped in any of this. If you want to leave, I'll understand." Aisha stopped and looked at him, her eyes reflecting a mix of gratitude and something deeper. "William, I've never had choices in my life. I've always been defined by what others wanted for me. But now, for the first time, I feel like I have a choice. And if you ask me, I'd choose to stay." Those words marked a new beginning for both of them. What had started as a contract between families turned into an opportunity to build something real, based on trust and mutual respect. William, who had always valued his freedom above all else, realized that true freedom came from being with someone who understood him deeply. Rebuilding wasn't easy. Aisha decided to use her experiences and the connections she had made to start an initiative to help women in similar situations. Women who had been forced to give up their dreams in the name of traditions and family expectations. With financial support from William and the influence of the Al-Fayez family, the project quickly gained momentum. becoming a powerful force in the fight for equality and freedom. Meanwhile, William worked on transforming Carter Enterprises, focusing on ethical and sustainable practices. He knew that restoring public trust in the company would take more than words. It would require concrete actions. Under his leadership, the company began investing in initiatives that promoted social responsibility, earning the market's respect and rebuilding its reputation. Months passed, and life gradually began to stabilize. Aisha and William, now true partners, not only survived the challenges they had faced, but also found a way to thrive together. On a special evening during a trip to Paris, William surprised Aisha with a proposal she never expected. "Aisha, our marriage started as an arrangement, but everything we've been through has shown me that you're so much more than I could have imagined. I want to build a future with you, not out of obligation, but because I can't imagine my life without you. Will you stay with me, for real this time?" With tears in her eyes, Aisha smiled and replied, "Yes, William. For the first time, yes." This new chapter in their lives was marked by deliberate choices and a mutual commitment to create something meaningful. The journey they had traveled was painful and filled with obstacles, but what they found at the end was something neither of them had expected: a genuine connection built from the ashes of their struggles. After months of personal and professional rebuilding, William and Aisha entered a new phase of their lives. What began as an arranged marriage had evolved into a true partnership. But their journey was far from over. The scars of the past lingered, and redefining their family relationships and business responsibilities presented new challenges that would test their strength and resilience once again. Ramiro, who had been removed from Carter Enterprises, still lived in the family mansion, but his role within the family dynamic had changed dramatically. Once the dominant and unquestionable figure, he now watched from the sidelines as William took control of the company and redefined the values that shaped the Carter legacy. "You've done a good job," he admitted during a rare moment of vulnerability. "Better than I expected." Although the relationship between father and son was far from fully reconciled, there was a growing sense of mutual respect. William knew Ramiro had made serious mistakes, but he also saw that the man who once seemed inflexible was, in his own way, trying to make amends. "I can't forget what you did," William said during an honest conversation. "But maybe we can find a way forward, this time with honesty." Meanwhile, Aisha faced changes within her own family. The downfall of Hakeem and Kareem's rescue had restored some balance to the Al-Fayez family, but the emotional scars left by her cousin's betrayals and manipulations ran deep. Her father, Kamal, sought to reconnect with her, offering apologies for putting her in such a difficult position. "I thought I was protecting you," he said with regretful eyes. "But I see now that I only hurt you more." Though still wounded, Aisha chose to give him a second chance. "I forgive you, father, but things have to change. I don't want Kareem or anyone else in our family to go through what I did." This conversation marked a turning point for the Al-Fayez family, who began adopting a more collaborative and transparent approach to their business and familial relationships. On the business front, William faced mounting challenges. Carter Enterprises, now under his leadership, was slowly recovering, but the damage to the company's reputation was still evident. To speed up the rebuilding process, William implemented a corporate social responsibility policy, investing in projects that benefited local communities and promoting sustainable practices. The idea was met with skepticism by some board members who preferred to focus on short-term profits. But William stood firm. "If we're going to survive, we need to show the world that we've learned from our mistakes. This isn't just about money, it's about doing what's right." This ethical approach began attracting investors who aligned with the company's new values, bringing in capital that accelerated its recovery. William's vision for Carter Enterprises not only helped save the business, but also set a new standard within the industry. Aisha, on the other hand, expanded her initiative to support women in vulnerable situations. With Kareem's help, now safe and starting to forge his own path, she established an international support network that provided education, training, and job opportunities for women forced to abandon their dreams due to cultural and societal pressures. The partnership between William and Aisha was also reflected in their professional initiatives. They often collaborated on projects that combined the resources of Carter Enterprises with Aisha's support network, creating an even greater impact. This collaboration further strengthened their bond, proving that together they were stronger than apart. Despite their progress, new challenges continued to arise. The media, which had closely followed the downfall of Hakim and the financial scandals involving the Carter and Al-Fayez families, began speculating about the true nature of William and Aisha's relationship. Rumors and conspiracy theories flooded the tabloids, putting pressure on the couple. "Do you think this will ever stop?" Aisha asked one evening as they reviewed the latest sensationalized articles about their lives. William held her hand and replied, "People will always talk, but what matters is what we're building together. No one can take that away from us." This perspective helped them face the criticism and stay focused on what truly mattered: the future they were creating. One day, Kareem, who had started working at an NGO supported by Aisha, shared an ambitious idea with her and William. "What if we created a program that brought together young people from different cultures to solve global problems like climate change or inequality?" The proposal was bold, but deeply resonated with them, and they immediately began exploring ways to make it a reality. This new project not only expanded the reach of the initiatives they were already leading, but also symbolized the union of their stories and values. It was a reminder that even in the midst of chaos and challenges, something meaningful and beautiful could emerge. William and Aisha's marriage, which had started as a forced agreement, had now become an example of resilience, partnership, and transformation. They had not only overcome the challenges they faced, but had also used those experiences to create something bigger than themselves. With their families beginning to heal, their careers thriving, and their love growing stronger each day, William and Aisha were ready to face whatever the future held. As time went on, William and Aisha realized that their lives, once defined by family pressures and external expectations, now revolved around something much greater: the legacy they were building together. Their story of struggles and victories inspired not just their families, but also those who had followed their journey. They had turned an arranged marriage, full of secrets and manipulation, into a platform for meaningful change in the world. The foundation of this legacy was the success of the global program Kareem had envisioned. It brought together young people from different cultures to work on projects addressing global issues like social inequality, climate change, and access to education. The initiative was named Bridges to the Future, symbolizing the idea of connecting seemingly opposite worlds, just as William and Aisha had done in their own lives. Kareem took on a leadership role in the program, emerging as a young visionary who inspired others to believe in the power of collaboration. "I've learned that even in the face of adversity, there's always room for hope and action," he said during the program's launch event in London. His words captured the essence of what William and Aisha had taught him, that overcoming challenges creates opportunities to transform the world. Meanwhile, Carter Enterprises continued to thrive as a model of ethics and responsibility in the corporate world. Under William's leadership, the company not only recovered from past crises, but also became a leader in sustainable practices. One of its greatest achievements was the creation of a social impact fund, which allocated a portion of the company's profits to support underserved communities worldwide. "We're showing that it's possible to do business with integrity," William said in an interview with a prominent business newspaper. "True success isn't just measured by what we achieve, but by the positive impact we have on people's lives." Aisha also played a vital role in this transformation. She used her experience to build partnerships between Carter Enterprises and her network of support for vulnerable women, extending the reach of both initiatives. Together, these efforts touched thousands of lives, providing new opportunities and hope for those who needed it most. On a personal level, William and Aisha were closer than ever. Despite their demanding routines, they made time to nurture their relationship and celebrate the small victories of everyday life. The Carter Mansion, once a cold and formal place, had become a warm, vibrant home. Family gatherings, dinners with friends, and celebrations filled its halls with laughter and joy. Ramiro, though no longer leading the company, remained close to William and Aisha, offering advice and support whenever needed. The relationship between father and son, once defined by conflict and resentment, had evolved into something more balanced. "I see in you the leader I always wanted to be," Ramiro told William one day. "You're building a legacy that will last for generations." Kamal Al-Fayez also grew closer to Aisha, recognizing her strength and independence. He became actively involved in her initiatives, helping to build connections and provide resources to expand her projects. This collaboration was a significant step toward healing old wounds and strengthening their family bonds. One of the most remarkable moments of this new chapter was the opening of a community center in the Middle East, dedicated to supporting women and youth in vulnerable situations. The center was named in honor of Aisha's mother, who had been a great inspiration to her during her childhood. During the opening ceremony, Aisha spoke to an emotional audience. This center is a symbol of resilience and hope. It proves that even in the most challenging circumstances, we can find the strength to create something new and meaningful. I am deeply grateful to everyone who made this possible, especially my partner and friend, William, who never stopped believing we could make a difference. Sitting in the front row, William couldn't hold back his tears as he listened to Aisha's words. He knew this moment represented more than just the success of a project. It was the culmination of everything they had overcome together. Even at the height of their achievements, William and Aisha knew the journey didn't end there. They continued to face challenges, both personally and professionally, but they were more prepared than ever to meet them. The bond between them, forged through adversity, was now unbreakable. On a quiet evening, as they gazed at the New York City skyline from the mansion terrace, Aisha asked William, "Do you think we've made a difference?" He smiled, holding her hand. "I think we've just begun." The legacy William and Aisha were creating wasn't just about business success or philanthropic initiatives. It was a story of love, resilience, and transformation that inspired everyone around them. They had shown that even in the hardest situations, it's possible to find strength, meaning, and hope, and that together, they could overcome anything. With life finally settling into a rhythm of stability and growth, William and Aisha entered a new phase, marked by the fulfillment of their dreams and the expansion of their initiatives. The world seemed more open, full of possibilities, and they were ready to embrace everything the future held. The relationship between William and Aisha, which began as an imposed contract, had become a source of inspiration to those around them. They were often invited to speak at international events about their philanthropic efforts, business strategies, and, most importantly, the story that brought them to where they were. At a conference in Geneva, William shared a heartfelt message that moved the audience. "When everything seemed to fall apart, I realized that the greatest challenges are also the greatest opportunities, and sometimes the connections we resist the most are the ones that save us." Standing by his side, Aisha added, "We are proof that love doesn't need to start as a fairy tale to become extraordinary. It can grow from pain, struggles, and difficult choices, and still blossom." Their words not only inspired others, but also helped create a global community that supported their causes, further amplifying the impact they were making. The Bridges to the Future program, which started as a modest initiative to connect young people from different cultures, grew into a global movement. With financial support from Carter Enterprises and other corporations that believed in William and Aisha's vision, the program reached dozens of countries, impacting thousands of lives. Aisha's support network for women also expanded rapidly. It now included educational centers, entrepreneurship programs, and even a digital platform that connected women worldwide to share experiences and support each other. The success of the initiative was celebrated at a grand event in Dubai, where Aisha received an international award for her contributions to gender equality. Kareem, who was becoming more deeply involved in the projects, emerged as a spokesperson for youth at global conferences. His work was crucial in expanding initiatives in the Middle East, where he often shared his personal story as an example of resilience. "I've learned that even in the hardest circumstances, there's always a way forward, but it takes courage to find it," he said in an interview that went viral on social media. Despite their accomplishments, challenges continued to arise. Carter Enterprises, now established as an ethical and innovative company, faced fierce competition from corporate giants. William, however, saw these challenges as opportunities to keep reinventing the business. He launched a sustainable technology division focused on clean and affordable energy solutions, reinforcing the company's commitment to the planet's future. Meanwhile, Aisha began exploring new ways to make an impact on society. She decided to invest in creating educational and inspiring content, producing documentaries and books that told stories of resilience, including her own. Her first documentary, titled Beyond the Veil, was an instant success, highlighting the struggles and triumphs of women challenging cultural and societal expectations. Amid all this, William and Aisha received news that changed their lives once again. Aisha was pregnant. The discovery was met with a mix of surprise and joy. "I think we're about to embark on the most challenging and rewarding adventure of all," William joked, holding Aisha's hand. The arrival of a child brought new purpose to their lives. They began planning how to balance their professional and personal responsibilities, determined to create an environment where their child could grow up with love, freedom, and strong values. To mark this new chapter, William and Aisha decided to renew their vows in an intimate ceremony surrounded by close friends and family. Unlike their first wedding, which had been an obligation, this celebration was a reflection of the love and partnership they had built. The ceremony took place in a sunlit field in Tuscany, with breathtaking views and an atmosphere of simplicity and authenticity. Aisha, dressed in an elegant outfit, blending Western and Eastern elements, gave a speech that moved everyone. "This is the start of a new chapter. And although our story began in an unexpected way, what matters is how we choose to continue it. Today, I reaffirm my commitment to face any challenge by your side, William, because together, we are stronger." William, holding her hands, replied, "Aisha, you've changed my life in ways I never imagined. You've shown me that love can grow in the most unlikely places and become the most powerful force in the world. This is just the beginning of all we're going to build together." As the sun set over Tuscany, marking the end of an emotional day, William and Aisha looked ahead to the future. They knew there was still much to do, many challenges to face, and countless lives to impact. But they were ready. "Now that we have all this, what will we do next?" Aisha asked, smiling. William replied with conviction, "Everything we dream of, and more." What began as a forced marriage had become a symbol of transformation, resilience, and hope. William and Aisha had not only rebuilt their lives, they had created a legacy that would inspire generations to come. With the foundation of their accomplishments firmly in place, William and Aisha began expanding their influence on the global stage. Their story of overcoming challenges and transforming their lives became a powerful example of resilience and change, earning the support of people from all over the world. It was no longer just about the two of them. It was about the lives they had touched and the doors they had opened for others to follow similar paths. The projects led by William and Aisha grew in both scale and depth. The Bridges to the Future program expanded to include new focus areas, such as emerging technologies and solutions for humanitarian crises. Partnering with governments and international organizations, the program began operating in over 50 countries, connecting young innovators and community leaders to develop practical solutions for global challenges. At a UN event, Aisha addressed an audience of world leaders, emphasizing the importance of collaboration. "We cannot solve the world's biggest problems alone. We need each other. We need to build bridges, not just between nations, but between hearts." Meanwhile, William was restructuring Carter Enterprises to align more closely with his personal values and modern demands. He implemented an internal mentorship program, encouraging employees to propose innovative and sustainable project ideas. The initiative yielded impressive results, ranging from renewable energy technologies to new ways of reducing the company's carbon footprint. The business also became a pioneer in corporate transparency, regularly publishing reports detailing the social and environmental impacts of its operations. This established Carter Enterprises as a model of integrity and innovation in the corporate world. Aisha's relationship with her family continued to evolve as well. Her father, Kamal, became a committed partner in her initiatives, using his experience and connections to help expand projects in the Middle East. Kareem, now more confident and determined, took on a leadership role in expanding the youth program to reach remote communities. He became an influential voice, encouraging young people to believe in their potential and fight for change. During an interview on an international TV program, Kareem said, "My sister and William showed me that true power isn't about what we have. It's about what we do with what we have." Amid these achievements, William and Aisha also learned to treasure the simple personal moments. Between global meetings and high-profile events, they always found time to enjoy their life together, whether through quiet dinners at the mansion or exploring new places during work trips. The arrival of their first child, a daughter named Amira, brought a new sense of joy and purpose to their lives. Amira became a symbol of the future they were building, and both parents were committed to creating a world where she could grow up with freedom, equality, and opportunity. Even as a toddler, Amira was surrounded by love and admiration. Her first steps were celebrated with enthusiasm, and William couldn't hold back tears when he heard her first words. "She reminds us of everything we've fought for," Aisha said emotionally, watching their daughter play. Every sacrifice was worth it to get here. Still, the couple understood that the work was never done. Global challenges persisted, and new crises required swift and effective responses. But with the strength of their partnership, they felt ready for anything. "What matters," William often said in his speeches, "is never forgetting why we started. Everything we do is to create a world where future generations can dream and achieve without the limitations we faced." The influence of William and Aisha transcended borders, inspiring a new generation of leaders to pursue collaborative solutions and believe in the power of unity. Their impact was felt across the world. From underserved communities gaining access to opportunities to boardrooms where decisions were made based on the principles they had championed. As they reflected on all they had achieved, William and Aisha knew there was still much to be done. But they also knew they were not alone. The legacy they had built was supported by a global network of people dedicated to making a difference. They hadn't just changed their own lives. They had transformed the course of countless others around the world. Sitting on their porch one quiet evening, Aisha looked at William and asked, "Do you think we've accomplished everything we dreamed of?" He smiled and replied, "We've accomplished more than we dreamed of, but the best is yet to come." And so, William and Aisha continued their journey, not just as a couple, but as leaders, partners, and dreamers who had shown the world the power of transformation and love. Their story became an enduring symbol of hope, proving that even in the hardest circumstances, extraordinary things can be built with courage, determination, and unity. Over the years, William and Aisha transformed their lives and the lives of thousands around the world. The impact of their actions, from philanthropic projects to business innovations, was deep and lasting. But more important than any material achievement, they created a home filled with love, purpose, and hope, reflecting everything they had overcome and achieved together. As time went on, little Amira grew up surrounded by stories of courage, resilience, and unity. Her curiosity and empathy stood out, and she often accompanied her parents on trips to visit the community centers they had built. One day, while visiting one of the first educational centers Aisha had established, Amira looked at her mother and asked, "Mom, why did you start all this?" Holding her daughter's hand, Aisha smiled and replied, "Because someone had to show that no matter where you come from, you can always change the world, starting by helping one person at a time." That lesson stayed with Amira. Inspired by her parents' example, she began to get involved in the family's projects. Her fresh, creative vision brought new ideas, and she soon became a bridge between generations, helping to modernize and expand the reach of their initiatives. The next generation of the Carter Al-Fayez family was ready to carry on the legacy with the same passion and dedication William and Aisha had shown. Meanwhile, William and Aisha found joy in life's simple moments. They learned to balance the demands of their global commitments with the beauty of family time. Quiet dinners, nights under the stars, and trips to remote places became rituals that reminded them of what truly mattered, the love that united them and the purpose that guided their lives. On a special evening, as they celebrated the 10th anniversary of their vow renewal, surrounded by friends, family, and partners in their initiatives, William gave a speech that perfectly captured their journey. "When this all started, I never imagined we'd be here today. Life put us in difficult situations and tested us in ways we couldn't have foreseen. But through every obstacle, we found strength in each other. What began as an obligation became the greatest blessing of our lives. Aisha, you didn't just transform my world, you taught me to dream bigger and to fight for a better future for everyone. And this is just the beginning." Emotional, Aisha took the microphone and responded, "William, what we've built together is proof that even the most unlikely stories can have the most incredible endings. Our love is the foundation of it all, but it's also the force that drives us to keep helping others find their own strength. We're living proof that when you act with love and purpose, the impossible becomes possible. The applause that filled the room wasn't just a celebration of the couple. It was a recognition of everything they had accomplished and the lasting impact they had made on the world. Friends, family, and longtime allies joined them that night, reaffirming what everyone there already knew. William and Aisha weren't just examples of success, they were symbols of humanity and inspiration. In that moment, as they danced under the bright lights and the stars scattered across the sky, William and Aisha knew they had found not only love, but also purpose. They had transformed their lives and created a legacy that would live on long after them. The future was bright and full of possibilities, and most importantly, they knew they would face it all together, as they always had. And so, the story of William and Aisha, which began as a simple contract, became a legend of love, resilience, and transformation that would continue to inspire generations for years to come. What did you think of William and Aisha's story? Share your thoughts in the comments below. On a scale of 0 to 10, how would you rate this story? Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and click the notification bell to stay updated on all our stories. And check out more inspiring stories by clicking here on the end screen.